Thank you. Joining us now to discuss is Oklahoma Congressman Kevin Hern. Congressman, welcome to National Report. Thanks for being here. Before we get to this new talk about re-bringing up these voting rights concerns from Democrats, what's your biggest issue with the Build Back Better plan, which is now unlikely to pass by Christmas?
Well, we've been saying since day one it was called the Build Back Broke plan, but that's because that's really what it is. And what we're seeing now is that when the right questions are asked, which is what we've all along, that this no way pays for itself. It doesn't cost zero, as the administration and the Democrats would love to make you think. The question was asked if these were extended to the entire 10 years, it was going to close to $5 trillion. And so you raise taxes for 10 years and only pay for 1 or 2 years of the program. Yeah, sure, it's going to pay for itself. But the reality is, as we all know, as citizens, that nothing ever gets canceled in Congress. It continues on infinitum and continues to add to the debt.
Here's what the president, one of his key talking points is when it comes to passing this agenda. Listen to this.
The fact is, the Build Back Better plan is fiscally responsible. It's the first major piece of legislation in more than a decade that is not only fully paid for, but will generate more than $100 billion in deficit reduction.
You kind of touched on that already, but the CBO even says this plan is going to add $3 trillion to the U.S. deficit. Jen Psaki, the press secretary, saying that is a fake report. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I don't know what kind of Kool-Aid they're over there, but you know, the reality is that the Democrats and the administration are continuing to send lies out to the American people, and the American people are buying it. Thank goodness America for the future of this country. Joe Manchin isn't buying it. He's been saying it since day one. A Democrat that's called out the administration and his fellow colleagues about what's going on. The reality is that just a few weeks ago and many times before this, President Biden has said that the CBO was the gold standard. When the question was asked by a few senators if these were extended, again, they said that it would add $3 trillion to the deficit. So the White House needs to accept it. Obviously, many Democrats are accepting it. And all the while in this, they're wanting to reward their millionaires and billionaires in New York, Jersey, and California with reinstating the SALT limitation or exemptions so that they can raise those up to $80,000 per year instead of the $10,000 that was put forth by President Trump and the Republicans back in 2017, actually cutting taxes to the millionaires and billionaires right now, where President Trump actually increased taxes to millionaires and billionaires.
And we continue to hear pay your fair share, tax the rich. And then you point out the SALT tax here. Also learning that the Senate parliamentarian again rejecting the idea to include immigration reform back into the Build Back Better plan. What does this mean about where Democrats' priorities are right now? And then also the fact that they just can't account for this sort of spending right now.
Well, again, this goes back to the hypocrisy of the Democrats. When they get information they don't like, they rail against the people who are in charge, nonpartisan role to actually look at and say whether this is going to be law or not under the reconciliation rules. And the Senate parliamentarian, who has been in place since 2012, probably one of the most liberal leaders of the Senate in history, Harry Reid, has said it's not constitutional. It won't pass muster under the Byrd rule. And so you have my colleagues, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and so many others on the House and the Senate side, to just ignore the parliamentarian. And that's very unfortunate for all of us. The reality is it's not going to pass muster, so they're going to have to figure out how to do this in a true 50-50 Senate, how they're going to get something passed.
Yeah, we've heard ignore the parliamentarian and the CBO score. Right now, we're just trying to get an accurate idea as to how much it's going to cost. Congressman Kevin Hern joining us on the program. Congressman, thank you. Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas to you all as well. Thank you.